What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another live stream. Week number 85. 85 consecutive weeks without missing a beat. And that's how we level up around here. If it's your first time here, my name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. Now, gear is important, but we need to make sure that our skills are up to par before we decide on getting anything new. Today we're going to be talking about the rumored Sony Alpha R5 that is been, so a couple of rumors have been floating around that have been changed. Kind of the announcement came out in May, but I really didn't want to talk about it until there was things more concrete. There still really isn't anything concrete at the moment, but there is a new speculation on the rise, which corresponds with or coincides with a conversation that we had a long time ago here on a live stream. But with that being said, if it is your first time here, make sure that you introduce yourself in the chat. And so that you can get the Camera Junkie welcome from the Camera Junkie crew. If you happen to have a question for me, please put a Q colon in front of it. That way I'll be able to search it and make sure that I could address that for you. And with that, we're going to go right to the chat to see who's here. Before we get started, before I start speaking off of my soliloquy, and right off the bat, we have John. Actually, you know what? I don't have control. There we go. That looks better. Boom. John's here, and that doesn't look good up there. So let's bring it down and lock it here. All right, that's good. All right, perfect. All right, he says, happy Saturday evening, everyone. I just wanted to say awesome job with the Tom Buck. Oh, John saying awesome job with the Tom Buck 100K tribute video. I always admire your work. Well, thank you very much. I'm very tired. That's all I'm gonna say, because to actually get it for the deadline, because you know we were running against or racing against the clock, right? I knew that he was gonna get to this milestone eventually. I also wanted to give as many people as possible the opportunity to take part in it. So last night was the deadline, midnight, and there were some people who were on the West Coast, so that actually meant 3 o'clock in the morning. So even up to 3 o'clock in the morning, there was still some files that were trickling in, and because I was still working on the file, I just said, you know what, like, we're gonna bring it on, and I just continued to the point where I actually have not slept, and I just basically finished it like in the AM. And then I realized, and this is a funny note, and then I realized that with all the hustle and bustle, I hadn't even recorded my part of the video myself. So early this morning as well, I was able to record my part and then add that to the edit as well. I'm just glad that you know, people enjoyed it. I think my biggest thing was to make sure that it was like, you know, as an editor, I wanted to make sure that it was thoughtful, but also like watchable, right? Because we had so many people. I think I counted 40 different faces in that video. So it really goes to show you that I just think that I was able to please kind of like everyone who was able to take part in the video. So that was a challenge all on itself. Well, anyways, that's just the first comment. Let me continue. We also have Paul, Master Moderator. Can't even speak right now. Let me get some water. Hold on. Mr. Moderator, the Paul Duncan in the house, saying, hey fam, how are you doing? Randy's giving us the thumbs up. He says, I agree that it was good. Thank you, thank you. Tom says, yes, Mr. Camera Junkie, thank you for that video. I can't even believe it. An incredibly special thing to experience. And I gotta tell you the truth, man. all the hard work was absolutely worth it to be able to see the expression on your face when you saw the video. Another cool part was Heather was experienced that video for the first time alongside with you because of the way everything was scheduled. So to be able to see both of you guys experience it, you know, like spontaneously for the first time, it was really cool. So I'm just glad that I was able to make a video that was like that hit the mark, so to speak. So says nap time is over, Lewis. Actually, I didn't take a nap. For why didn't I take a nap? Because I was literally afraid that I was not gonna get up. I was literally thinking like, if I take a nap, it will be a wrap, and that will be it. That will be all that will be said about that, because my body will not actually like be able to snap out of it or hear an alarm. That I know for sure. So because of it, I toughed it out, and I'm like, you know what? It's only till midnight, so you know we got another 50 minutes here, but we're gonna ride it through. Thank you as always for hanging out with me. Mr. Sarkeesian's here as well, saying hello to everyone. Says great celebrations and congratulations to Tom Buck. Melanie's here as well, saying hello to everyone. Valerie saying what's up to everyone. Says I missed that video everyone's talking about in Tom's live stream. I was in and out. We'll have to catch the replay. Yeah, I would tell you to catch the replay. It was, I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun, but it was also very hard because I needed to kind of make a story, so to speak. You understand? And the way that I think I did the best that I could, right? With having to put together the bits and pieces and actually like put together a cohesive conversation, so to speak, and have a flow. So there was a lot of things that I put into aspect. And for those of you that have been here with me for like the last month, we have actually been doing like this little mini course where I took the last 3 episodes to edit an actual video and go through the steps. So imagine that. And Tom, if you're still here, one thing that I take, you know, like that I'll take credit for, that you were like, everyone sounded so great. I'm like, that was Mr. Editor over here, because I had a variety of mix levels from a variety of different cameras being captured. And my main thing that I stressed about when I was doing the edits here on the live stream was audio is so important. Like, bad audio is unwatchable. So I put a lot of my editing time into the audio aspect to make sure that that was coherent and clean. And the fact that that's something that you noticed made my day. So let's just continue with that. And yes, Paul's also saying it was a great stream. It actually was. The whole thing, the structure. I also have to give it up to Heather, because she did an amazing job with all those questions and things like that. I really, really enjoyed the trivia. That was a lot of fun. And here we're still getting congratulations. It's such a huge milestone. I'm really just glad that I was able to do that. Says thanks for being there. Heather and I have been talking for the past 3 hours about how special it was. That's so cool, man. And I gotta tell you, you know, being caught up in the moment and seeing it, I actually went back, and while I was setting things up, I just put that section again just to rewatch the expression on your and Heather's face, and that's what makes it all worth it for me. I gotta tell you the truth. So thank you. All right, so everybody's agreeing, saying it was a great stream. And Melanie saying 85 weeks. Yes, 85 weeks. We're locking down. So if we think about that, we're within the 20 week or like the red zone of 104, and 104 is 2 years. Think about that. That's gonna be such a huge milestone. All right, so we're still talking about the edits. Thank you guys. And Mr. Moderator is saying it correct. He's saying please put a Q colon in front of any question that you might have. And don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, so if you haven't done it, please hit that like button. It goes a long way and it's free, believe it or not. Yep, doesn't cost a thing. All right. Says we watched all the original submissions afterwards, and wow, there was definitely all kinds of audio levels, so you worked a lot of magic. Yeah. Well, thank you. Like I said, I will take credit for that because those are things that most people won't notice. But the fact that you do, hey, that means the world. But now let's get into it because the time keeps flying by. We're going to be talking about a rumored A7R4. And like I had mentioned before, this was something that came out in like mid-May, and I was thinking about bringing it up, but like I said, there was really nothing concrete, and basically it was just saying a new iteration of autofocus to basically the same version of the A7R4, meaning that there was really no difference except software. So that's not really much to talk about. New rumors have been coming out because I guess that really didn't fly. The simple fact that why would you pay for a newer like camera when it even up to right now is not up to date with the latest firmware or software within the cameras. The FX3 and the Sony A7S3 and a couple of others still haven't gotten the update that of the new focusing system or the lens focus breathing compensation that is built into the new A7 IV. So like that might have been the only thing that could have differentiated that, but the simple fact that we're talking about the R series camera and the R standing for resolution, that really doesn't fly because even though it has video capability, it's not dedicated for that aspect. Compared that the other two cameras that I just mentioned have full-size HDMI, and these photography based cameras like the R series and the Alpha 1 series, well actually I think the Alpha 1, because it is their flagship, has a full-size HDMI, and I could be incorrect on that, but I do know that the R series has the micro HDMI for maybe differential reasons, just as like a defining feature to differentiate these models. The other thing that really differentiates and sets apart the R series is the resolution, being that these are their highest megapixel cameras. So the Sony Alpha 1 being their flagship camera that shoots 50 megapixel still images at 30 frames a second, which is, but the fact that it does that and it's still 50 megapixels, that there are R4 at 61 megapixels was still a higher resolution for the same general body style. There was really, like I said, no reason to upgrade to the version 5 if it was going to keep that same megapixel count. For instance, right now my overhead camera, which I'm going to show you right now, this camera right here is my photography camera. I use it as my overhead for the reason that it's the easiest one that I can take away from my setup. So I can literally just disconnect two cables and like have a quick release clip, and it's off of my system, and I'm once again using it as a camera. But for my live stream, I also have it set up so it's multi-purpose. But the reason why I bring it up is because this is the Sony A7R2, the R2. And right now, the one that I'm mentioning to you about is the R5. So we're talking about 3 complete generations behind, and I'm still using this camera for the reason that it still has an incredibly high 42.2 megapixel sensor. And the only thing that differentiated this model, the Model 2 versus the Model 3, wasn't so much software, but was actually the battery. These are the NPF50 batteries. Excuse me, water break. These are the NPFW50 batteries. And these are the smaller ones that you find in their APS-C cameras, the ones that I have in my Sony A6100 that you're looking at right now. And for that reason, people gravitated towards the Model 3 or the Mark III of the R series for that reason, that it had a substantial increase in battery life. But the picture quality and the sensor is identical in that model. So if you were like me that owned the previous model, there is really no real difference to, like, there's really no real benefit to actual, you know, spending the difference to upgrade to the Mark III. Now the Mark IV came out, and that, on top of having the Z-type battery, also increased in the megapixel count, which jumped it up from 40 to 61. So now you had a legit dual camera in your hand, because the 61 megapixels, what it allows is a type of downsampling that is equal to any APS-C camera. So to bring that into context, my 42 megapixel R series camera, whenever I were to attach a APS-C type lens, which are designed for my smaller alpha cameras, it will automatically put itself into APS-C mode to compensate for the lack of glass or a coverage on the sensor. When it shrinks itself down, it also shrinks the actual megapixel file size, because it's rendering a smaller image. So because you're literally like cropping into the amount of sensor that you're using, the entire sensor would be the equivalent of the 42.2 megapixels. But when you're using it in the Super 35 mode or APS-C mode, it crops down to an 18 megapixel file. So that's the type of imagery that you'd be getting off of this camera in APS-C mode. Why is that important? Well, because the A6100 that you're looking at right now actually has 24 megapixels in that same Super 35 APS-C mode. So you're getting a higher like pixel density within the sensor to actually get a sharper image out of the lesser cameras than you would by putting that same type of glass on the full frame once it does that downgrading. All of that was explained to emphasize that with the Mark IV, 61 megapixels on the full frame, once you do that APS-C mode, it actually gives you, I believe, a 26.2 megapixel file size in the compressed or the Super 35, meaning that you like I was explaining, legit have two cameras, being that you have a full frame 61 megapixel high resolution, basically flagship or just under that, right, camera, and then at the same time, excuse me, and at the same time, now if you were to attach an APS-C lens to it, there will be no degrading. It will actually be an increase towards the alpha line to what they have in their standard APS-C. So that camera made a huge difference, and that's why it stuck around for such a long time. And even though the Sony Alpha 1 actually was released last year or the year before, because those last 2 years kind of run together, in the past when it was announced, This one is still hanging around without a successor. Now, we've also mentioned about the chip shortages. That could be coming into play. But at the same time, what I really think is that the technology, whether it be because of the chip shortage, is not there to increase a substantial boost in any other department besides megapixels to actually cause someone to upgrade. And that's what it comes down to. Like, are you willing to upgrade? Little side note, the reason why I got my hands on this camera was because the Mark IV had come out. So this individual had the Mark II, had not purchased the Mark III, but then when the Mark IV came out, he was like, I need to have that camera because of the higher megapixels. And I was like, sure. So when I went to go do the deal for this camera, I saw that he hadn't shot this camera like not even 1,000 times, because I was able to check the shutter, and I was like, you're gonna spend thousands upon thousands of dollars and sell me this one on a discount just so that you can complete your funds to buy the new 61 megapixel, and you've had this camera in your possession for years and you don't even have 1,000 shots run through it. I go, that to me was like, there's no reason for you to upgrade. But I'm glad that he did, because it gave me the discount, and now I've had this camera for years. So hey, his loss, my gain. But that's why I really referenced this, that there was really nothing to be hyped out about until this latest rumor. And this latest rumor is that we are getting a substantial bump, something in the range of 90 megapixels from the previous 60. That is a huge jump. That is like 30% increase when it comes to resolution. Now, we are getting faster memory cards that could supply, but we're also going to be talking about huge files that are going to be pumping through this machine as well, that have to come out in a decently fast manner. Because just because we have 90 megapixels doesn't mean that we're gonna like be subject, especially in the photography world, to slow or slower than average shutter speed. Meaning, how many frames per second can you get in focus? And being that these are Sony cameras, they're probably going to be putting some of the best processors and the latest processors inside that system to actually make sure that the autofocus keeps up to the speed of the machine actually capturing these images. I really doubt that they'll be able to accomplish something of that high, resolution in something higher than, like, honestly, maybe 11 frames per second, and that's being modest. I wouldn't be surprised if you'll be looking at a machine that gets 7 to 10 because of all the data that it has to push. But the reason why I bring this up is because, going back to a conversation that we had a long time ago about the sensors that Sony is producing as a company and selling off, I had mentioned that it was a stacked, micro four thirds sensor that was giving crazy output rates, and that was all being clocked. So this new iteration of sensors, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what type of data they'll be able to push through these systems and what resolutions they'll be able to get out, because that would be the only thing. And we have seen already 100 megapixel sensors. They usually tend to be into the medium format realm, but that's where I think this could really be a difference maker, and basically maximizing the amount of megapixels that a camera can hold or can actually process coherently within the full frame sensor size. That's why I bring this up. Let me go through some of these stats here, because it's gonna have like the animal eye autofocus, the bird, right? The person autofocus, that one actually is on my cameras right now, so that's not nothing out of this world. But it's going to have the 759 phase detect points. There's gonna be like there's gonna be a lot of similarities, and I really do mean a lot of similarities to the previous version. I can't tell you off the top of my head if it has this, but I do know that this version 5 is rumored to have 10 bit bit depth in the video recording. So 10-bit recording in HIF and HLG. And I wish there was a little bit more to tell you, except the fact that, besides breaking down the sensor aspect of it, that is going to be the biggest development. Like, I don't see anything besides that. The one thing that I would say that they could actually increase and would make a huge difference for even the R model is if they adapt or adopt the full size HDMI like they have for the other series. And if they were to do that, just because maybe it's easier to use similar frames that they have to their current lineup cameras. One thing that I do not expect to see in it is a flip out screen, meaning that it's more catering towards the photography base in this aspect. So being that it's more of a photography based camera, I would definitely see that it would stick, even just like the Sony Alpha 1 that has the standard flip up screen, which for me, I'm team flip up as a camera junkie. But I digress. More and more cameras are coming out with the flip out screen, so to start using the newer cameras, I'm gonna have to use one or two. Not like I haven't used them in the past, but I'm going to see what's going to happen with this new iteration of APS-C cameras that we're also waiting from Sony. That's a conversation for another day, to see what I'm going to do as my next camera, because the thing that I really want to adapt now is 10-bit color into my video files, to actually start using log the way that it's supposed to, because using log video on 8-bit, it's pretty much useless in my experience. You have to nail it exactly to get it correct, right? So that you can get what you want out of the log footage. But at that point, when you're nailing your exposure so well, might as well just do it with the colors that you want in the camera and bake it in, so that you save yourself the headache of having to recolor it and go through many processes in post because you decided to shoot in log. And the only added benefit is like not really much, because the color at the end of the day is not going to look that much different when you're still based on 8-bit. So my next big thing is definitely looking into 10-bit, and if Sony does not bring that out in their newer APS-C camera, I'm probably going to have to go into the full frame to seek that out. And then that will really make a huge difference on what will be my next camera, because like I say, upgrade your skills before your gear. But I'm getting the itch for a new camera. And like I said, I want to continue to upgrade my skills, and part of that is now the color science behind log footage and color grading for editing, for video editing. And as you all know, I've been really dabbling into the video editing aspect, so this is the next step that is going to cater to both sides. It's going to be my newer photography camera, but also give me the tools that I need to start dabbling into the log footage to be able to color grade that correctly for future projects. And that's the plan. Yep. All right, let me go check in with the chat to see if you guys have any questions and see what's going on. I'm gonna take a quick water break. I think because I haven't slept, I'm like extra dehydrated. That's the way that I feel right now. Oh, okay. Okay, so we're not that far off. Okay. It says it's super weird. I installed the FX3 firmware yesterday, and it's strange they didn't include some of the features like the A7RV. Exactly, that's what I was saying. And I because I don't own these cameras, I don't have the ability to like research or dig in a little bit more. But now I'm thinking that this might have to do with processing, and that, you know, that could be a whole nother rabbit hole conversation that we go down through. But the processing has a lot to do with what you could actually process as your megapixels. So I think that also has to do with everything else and the speed of the compensation of, you know, the ones and zeros, the binary code that these cameras are basically working at on the substrate level. And once you're talking about that, you're talking about just like on and off, you know, signals that this entire machine will then interpret as a still image through a digital sensor readout. Hopefully I didn't lose all of you guys there. But if that's the limitation to these cameras, then it just might be a level of technology that cannot be applied to those cameras because of just like that one generation difference of processor. So if I can break it down as simple as possible, that the reason why this might not be possible for these older cameras, even though they're just last year's, it's kind of like saying 2019 Intel versus 2020 Mac M1. It is a completely different structure, and if the newer cameras have a higher capability, let it just be on the nano level, right? Like if you're talking about the way that the processors are built structure wise, and you're talking about a 7 nanometer node on the older cameras to like a 5 or a 4 on the newer, like that increase of speed and technology could be all the difference to give you like that one or two key feature of like focus or lens focus compensation or anything like that, and maybe the colors of the autofocus, the things that are found in the 4. But like I said, I haven't researched. That's just straight speculation of my understanding of how these processors and how they work within the components of the cameras. So let's hope that that's not the case, and let's just hope that it's just they need to nerd out and write the code to apply it, because I really, you know, I feel a little, you know, like a little indifferent, I guess, because if I cannot get the 10-bit, right? If I can't get the 10-bit from the APS-C cameras that are coming out in the future, I'm gonna be looking into the same types of cameras, and most likely not the A7 IV, but maybe like the A7S3 or the FX3 as being a more video centric camera for that video file or video skill that I want to increase. I would really like to have it as well. So I'm definitely, you know, keeping an ear to the ground to see exactly what's going on, and hopefully they do bring that to those cameras, because then it's like much easier transition. I guess, at least for me. In a selfish way, I hope so. But every owner of a higher flagship camera than the A7 IV is kind of feeling, you know, a little slighted, like, yo, why did the, you know, it's almost like saying like the deluxe package is on the Corolla and not on the Camry, right? I'm like, yo, I got the gold package on the Camry, and like the Corolla's got the laser guided cruise control. Like, what's going on? So, I guess I hope that analogy helps a little as well. Oh, Sly is in the house. How are you doing, Sly? It's been a while. We haven't had you on the stream here. Saying hi, fellow junkies. I have to watch the rerun. I got a little man on the weekend. Okay, he's got the attention. Congrats on 85. Thank you. And if you're seeing or hearing this, well, if you're watching it on the replay, thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate you. It says a new camera for 104 weeks would be awesome. Let's keep the fingers crossed. I actually am thinking something else. So for those of you who are here right now, and we can just keep it a secret within ourselves, the stream might look different at 104. You know, there could be a different like layout and a different switching of cameras. Something that I'm working on from right now. Just don't tell nobody. So. All right. And if you haven't already, and if you just maybe forgot and you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It goes a long way. All right, let's get back to the chat. It says rent a few first. So much fun and eye-opening. Absolutely, because look, one thing that in the same aspect, Canon's new cameras are also very nice, and the Canon R7, which Mr. Peter Gregg has, also shoots in 10-bit in the APS-C. So that's something that I also want to see if maybe I go swing by his place and pop in a quick little memory card to record some footage that I can maybe take home and see how it works with my equipment and how I can manipulate it. So interesting opportunities or prospects that could be in the horizon, but definitely renting is something that I'm going to be looking into. And even if it's just for creating content purposes, I'm thinking about getting more into renting lenses that I don't have to see what's my opinion on them and more of a hands-on approach comparative to just literally just reading specs. And even though I know I have an understanding of these lenses, it would be a lot easier, like I said, if I had it in my hand. I'd be able to have a more concise understanding if I had the gear in my hands. And this is a funny thing because before, Mr. Camera Junkie, I was Mr. Fix-It, right? And Mr. Fix-It, I was fixing iPhones and a variety of different electronics. One thing that when I used to have a shop is like, I used to tell everyone, I'm like, I can't tell you what I can or cannot do until I have the device in my hands, because that's when I'll be able to do. Everything else is just speculation, and until it's almost like buying a car, you really don't know what you got until you look under the hood, and that's kind of like what it falls into, that type of category. As you can tell, I use a lot of car analogies, but they seem to work. Like, you need to get your hands on, you need to get a little elbow grease, and then you can see what can or can't be done. What's up, Aiden? Aiden's saying hi. He's just hanging out here. He's literally sitting on my foot, so I think he's just here for attention. I would put the camera on him, but it won't catch him right now because he's right here. He's on my foot. Right? Oh, and update on Aiden. In Puerto Rico, in our culture, when you lose your two front teeth, you're called mayao. So right now, Aiden has officially lost his second front tooth, so he's officially mayao, my little meyaito, and I just think he looks so cute. It's just that phase. But yeah, he's missing his two front teeth. Let's see if he gets that for Christmas. Okay, Jackie's here saying a quick hello before I crash. Set looks great. Thank you. And the whole thing is that I think I'm gonna crash. I think I'm just landing the plane right now, because it's gonna be a wrap. I am so tired. I just still want to thank all of you guys. I wanted to bring as much value as possible, but I have not slept. And not only that I haven't slept, but I also am a full-time father. So at no time during the day does my little one give me a break. So I still have to do everything that I have to do for the remainder of the night. And I am just run down. But if you do want to hang out a little bit longer, tomorrow I am actually going to be on the stream. I'm messing it up because of my brain right now. The stream show that's hosted by DJ Strick, and it's on the Ecamm Network channel. So it's a show that's hosted by DJ Strick, and it's gonna be on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I believe tomorrow's subject is gonna be about microphones and like audio interfaces, what they are, so on and so forth. It's gonna be me, Kevin Coble, and I think Steve Worthy is gonna be part of the panel. So if you want to hang out and talk microphones, we're gonna be doing that tomorrow night, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. It was actually rescheduled from like a couple of weeks ago, so we rescheduled it, and it's tomorrow. And that really just, that one snuck up on me because this was, let me catch my breath. This was one hell of a week for me. Like, hands down, this is one hell of a week. For example, I was given the task to edit a promotional video for Ecamm. So Doc sent over a video file of saying like, hey, we're doing the July event. So if you're watching this right now and you were thinking about getting Ecamm, on top of everything that you see here, this is the program that I use to do my live streams, is the program that I use to do my live recordings, is the program that I use for just about everything. My Zoom meetings, my Discord calls, any face-to-face chat, and any program that I use, it's all done through Ecamm. And I absolutely love it. And right now, if you use the link in the description and use the promo code July30, you will get a 30% one-time discount off of any plan, whether it's pro or standard, monthly or annual. But the big thing is that it's a one-time discount. So if you're using it for the monthly plan, you're only gonna get it for your first month, and that really doesn't make sense. So if you are thinking about it, the best deal is to get the yearly plan and take the 30% off the entire chunk, and you'll be able to do everything and anything, including remote production. Like, most people don't even think about the possibilities of everything you can do with this program. So I can host an entire live stream without ever having to put my face on stream. I can, I can be hired to do the entire production, do video switching, bring comments onto the screen, which is things that I have actually done. And the only thing that's required of the participants is to connect to my link, and I take care of the rest. And all of that is done through Ecamm. Another, camera junkie, part of the crew, Gil, he actually has been using this for his live streams, for his podcasts, and he actually charges a group of like clients. Like, he's got his set list of clients which he does podcasts for, where he has his small studio with everything set up, and with the power of Ecamm, he's able to record video and audio, separate everything, and then have it completely set up where he's doing the entire production or back-end production of these podcasts, where his clients are literally just paying him to show up. They just show up, they have a conversation in front of a couple of microphones, and everything else is taken care of. It's such an amazing program, and it's got so many it's got so much potential if you think about it in a form as a tool and for your business. And if you think about it that way, Ecamm will definitely become a vital part of your everyday, like it has for me. So Ecamm, in the link in the description, use the promo code July30 at checkout to get 30% off of your first purchase as a new customer. And I highly recommend the program. I use it every day. So when I really think about it, I pay cents per day because of, you know, the amount of use that I get out of this program. But I bring all of that up, and I try to sometimes remember that these are amazing deals, is because that was an entire edit that I had to do, and it was similar to Tom's edit, where I was given the footage on like Monday, and it was like, just try to get it out as soon as possible, and the sale was already active. So I'm already racing against the clock. So I was doing everything, and then while I was trying to do the edit on Monday, obviously I couldn't complete it. I was still working on it. Tuesday I had to I did a live stream for Doc Rock that was out of town. So me and the Paul Duncan, Mr. Moderator, took over Doc Rock's channel, and we had a nice conversation about all of the amazing things that have occurred, you know, in our lives, and how drastically different they are from just a year ago, you know, just 6 months ago, how drastically different our lives look, with the accomplishments and the connections and the friendships that we've made along the way. And it was like so much fun to then continue to, as soon as I was done with there, finish the summer sale edit. And as soon as I was done basically with the summer sale edit, and was able to upload that to the Ecamm fam, next thing you know is, hey, Tom Buck just hit the 100,000 subscriber. And I was like, okay, I had set everything up for it, but I hadn't had the time to actually start the actual edit. So I had downloaded the files, but I hadn't put anything together. So yesterday, I would say around 2 p.m. was when I started doing the Tom Buck edit and started putting everything together. And it was around 3. Yeah, sorry, something just bit me. I think it was like 3 p.m. when I was able to finish. Yep. The only thing that I took a break for, because I actually did not sleep, was to cook some food, because I needed to keep myself fueled in the time while I was doing that. So that's what ended up happening. I have not slept, and I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. Hey, I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with me and taking the time. So the volume's very low. Is it? I don't know. Mr. Moderator will let me know. Oh, thank you for the information, John. Absolutely. You see, today's one of those days, so thank you to the moderator team to save my bacon. Okay. Says, and you two rock the takeover. Thank you, Gretchen. Okay, what I almost forgot, and John just reminded me, was Cities Gaw, channels that I think you should go and watch. And this week's Cities Gaw, let me get it set up. Yes. All right. Oh, I need to correct. I need to be on the correct scene. Are we there? Boom. Perfect. Bam. Video, DSLR video shooter, Mr. Caleb Pike. Now, today we were talking about the A7RV and it being more a photography camera. Caleb has a set of guides, which is basically how he finances his project. So if you actually happen to have any of the Sony Alpha cameras, I highly recommend you looking into like his guides. They're just a set of small videos that really go in depth into your camera and break it down. He's put a lot of time and effort into them, and he's got them for a lot of different Sony Alpha cameras. But the reason why I like Caleb more than anything is the fact that there's a lot of similarities to this. So let me see if I could try to scoot. There's a lot of things that he does with articulating arms and setups. So like this video down here where it says this $100 video rig rocks. The other one right here says entire studio on one cart. Like a lot of these like outside the box thinking, I really like that MacGyver mindset. I really fall in line with a lot of what Mr. Caleb Pike does. Those are my favorite videos of his, but as you can see, he has a plethora of videos from, you know, video monitors, lenses, lights, you name it. But if you haven't seen them before, I definitely recommend you check out DSLR video shooter Mr. Caleb Pike. He's been doing it for a long time. He just speaks like so cool, right? Like just mellow, laid back. And as you know me, I'm a live stream junkie as well. He actually hosts a weekly live streams sometimes, and it's on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And a lot of times I'm in front of the computer just editing a video while I'm working along, and I get a notification that he pops on, so I'll hop in and, you know, chat, and it's always a lot of fun. But definitely Cities God channels that I think you should go and watch: Mr. Caleb Pike video DSLR video shooter. I'm getting like dyslexia right now or something where I can't say the words correctly. But thank you to the moderator team for helping me remember that. And with that being said, thank you all for taking the time and hanging out with me. You guys are amazing. This really is the highlight of my week. So thank you for hanging out and spending your most precious commodity, which is your time, here with me. We will be doing it all over again next week. I really can't tell you what I have in mind as far as the topic, but as soon as I do have it, I'll make a thumbnail and get things rolling. But with that being said, you can guarantee that next week will be episode number 86 at the same exact time and in the same exact place. The Camera Junkie live stream, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces there. So, as always, thank you for hanging out. Have a great week. And I'll see you next time.